Well, a very good morning and thank you for being part of the Morning Breeze discussion this morning. There's a lot happening today. Just as the country makes sense of a raft of taxes that were passed yesterday by Parliament before it took a break, sign die. We'll be discussing that, and we'll also be looking at the looming strike in town as traders prepare to meet President Yoweri Museveni. Still over the sticky subject of EFRIS, what is at stake and what should the country expect? Could it be a case of holding the state at ransom by the traders, going on strike while at the same time meeting the president? This is one of the subjects that we'll be discussing, and I'm joined this morning by the Kasita publicist, Mr. Herbert Nsubuga Masanda, together with Honorable Dickson Kateshumbwa. He's a former taxman and currently a member of parliament. We'll also be speaking to a tax expert, Mr. Trevor Lukanga Bwanika, the senior manager at taxation PwC. As we make sense of the taxes and as we make sense of what has become now a nightmare or a subject that is shrouded in a lot of misinformation, that is EFRIS. I will begin with you, Mr. Masanda. Good to see you and a very good morning.
Good morning, Simon.
Well, there's a lot at stake. The president agreed to meet you today, but you're mobilizing traders to close shop. Isn't this a contradiction, really?
Not in bad faith. We respect our judge. He's a judge. We visited him, he hosted us, he took his time when he hosted us, and he left everything he would be doing. Now, in return, as we are hosting him again, in fact, he's hosting us again because Kololo is his place. As he's hosting us, we respected him a lot. We decided to leave our businesses to go to him and listen to what our elder is trying to tell us. But we never protested. We are not protesting at all. We are just inviting everyone to come and hear from the horse's mouth to see whether he has a progress in his business or he's losing it all. We are not protesting at all, but this is just a sign of respect.
Okay, you're following up on the consultation that he promised you.
Yes.
What are your expectations? And what really do you want the president to tell you?
Well, Simon, when we went to meet the president, we had our own pains because the business is our mother, is our father, is what makes us people. When we went to him and told him our problems, he listened. We wanted him to make a decision because we were closing our shops and we were closing our businesses. But he told us, no, don't let me decide now. Let me meet my technocrats. What they will tell me, I'll consider what they've told me and consider what you've told me, and I come up with a decision. So he gave us 7th, which is today, that he will be giving us what has decided. We are going there to see, has he decided well? Or has he decided the ball in our favor? Whatever comes out will give us what to do next.
Okay, the subject of contention was EFRIS. And he suspended any further operationalization of EFRIS. Was it within Kampala or across the country?
Across the country. But it was not the only contention. It was at EFRIS. Though EFRIS took a bigger role, we had so many issues, something like 6 issues. The first issue was EFRIS, overvaluation, the Chinese hawking, and the way they trade, the way they make their trade in Uganda. And again, what was the fourth? Charging taxes in kilograms. So we had 4 contentious issues, though EFRIS took a bigger role.
Well, Honorable Kateshumbwa, you're now wearing 2 prisms, one as a taxman and as a legislator. do you feel this stalemate has really taken a new turn now that traders are still pushing?
I don't exactly understand what you want me to say, because the traders had their grievances, and I think the president did the right thing to meet them. And this being a follow-up meeting, we cannot speculate what he may want to communicate. But I wanted to say that the business sector, the timing of their strike coincided with the time when we are doing legislation around new taxes. And I feel that perhaps we have missed an opportunity to get some of their good ideas and consider them while we are developing the tax policies for the next financial year. And I think this came out yesterday on the floor of Parliament. Someone raised it. But I do not think that from the time they started their issue, and now it was long time enough for perhaps the Minister of Finance and Trade to pick out a few things, bring them into policy, so that even as the president is looking for solutions, they have helped him with some of the policy proposals that could
So you imagine the engagement has not been adequate?
Now, for example, there are issues they raised about, for example, VAT threshold, raising the VAT threshold. I felt that that was a legitimate concern that the Minister of Finance would have picked, analyzed it, done the numbers within a week or two, and it could have even came tabled through amendments in Parliament. The other issues, like the issue of penalty, because these are matters of law. So even as much as we expect the president to offer solution, the president will offer solutions aware of what the law says. And if there are any solutions that border on adjusting the laws, then they have to come to Parliament for them to be adjusted. So that's why I'm saying that, in my opinion, because Parliament also listened to the traders, the ministry could have quickly picked out a few things that are very easy to resolve, like the penalty of 6 million. That one is it is something that we could have dealt with and amended. So even we assist the president as he's looking at the solutions.
So you mean there is a bit of lapse in engagement?
Yeah, I think at a policy level, there needs to be more engagement. Because you see, the business community, especially the Chikubo, I think very few people understand the business model in that sector. There is a need for government to study the operations of Chikubo, to understand how do those people trade. If you consider them to be trading like any other, trading entity, you might actually offer solutions that do not work for them. But also in terms of approaches, they are not very easy to, you have to be very tactical. So you need to be able to understand them and also engage them, and also for them to understand the direction Uganda is taking. Here, they raised the issues of people who manufacture and at the same time are involved in wholesale and retail. That's a legitimate issue. That's why Parliament passed the competition bill. You cannot be a manufacturer, then you open a distribution, you are in retail, and then the person down, you have the whole supply chain amongst yourselves or your cousins or your people. You will edge them out. That's a very legitimate concern. Number two, the issue of import substitution. Uganda has been moving a journey of import substitution. Many years back, we used to import more than we manufacture here. The trend has changed. Our wish would be to turn it upside down completely, 100%. But it is a journey. So how do you move the journey? You cannot do it overnight. You cannot have import substitution overnight because import substitution comes along with other requirements. You are raw material based, you are manufacturing based to be able to manufacture everything. So it's a journey that Ugandans have to walk. The manufacturers, the traders. If you think that you will do it overnight, it is not realistic.
Well, Mr. Lukanga, just to share your analysis a bit, do you think there is a quick solution to the outcry, to the uproar of these traders?
Yes. Thank you, Simon. Good morning to you. Good morning to viewers. Yes, there are ways of going about this because when you listen to what Herbert has said as well as Honorable Katesh, some of these issues can be resolved. And there is a window of resolving what Honorable Katesh had just mentioned. But to take a step back, if you see the outcry from the traders, there are issues around tax administration itself and as well as policy issues. Tax administration issues should be resolved easily because if the traders are complaining about being interjected as they are taking their goods out of Chikubo, you don't need to go to the president to resolve that. So there are some quick wins that can be resolved. And then you see these bigger policy issues, for example, the issue around thresholds and all, that can be resolved at a policy level. But for some simple things in terms of implementation, in terms of administration, we would expect that the president shouldn't be convened to resolve an issue of why a trader is being stopped when they're taking their goods and being asked for an IFRIS invoice. Surely that's not a matter that...
Does it in any way intrigue you that matters that would otherwise be resolved administratively, either by the regulator or the traders with dialogue, are now being taken to the president? Doesn't it speak to a gap?
Yes, and Simon, that's exactly, I think, what needs to be addressed, because the president has empowered different institutions to carry out their work. So now, if the institutions are not carrying out their work as expected, or if they are simply implementing what the law provides for, and they are doing it in such a manner that then, you know, the traders are not happy with, then you get a dialogue. And we've seen also the URA try and have dialogue with the traders and all. But it's more of a question of, if I take an example of IFRIS, yes, first of all, IFRIS is a good solution that is meant to collect VAT and makes the collection of VAT very simple. But then now, the way you take it to the masses, the way it is rolled out matters quite a bit, because you can't have the same approach. If you're going to take it to a wholesale trader whose systems are already functioning and everything is fine, it is easier to adopt. However, if you're looking at a Chikubo trader, someone who's just looking for, you know, a bargain or trying to make some margin of sorts, and they're required to be paying taxes or using IFRIS, the approach is different. So we would expect that there is a lot of sensitization. There is a different approach that is taken for different people, different trade. And it's not only just traders, it's everyone. Because once you're VAT registered, then you're required to use IFRIS and start issuing e-receipts or invoices. So it's just that the traders have come out to cry out, but there are also people out there or sectors out there.
Are traders simply acting naive in trying to relate IFRIS to a tax?
I think they've been sensitized around that. And if you listen to the outcry, it's more about the implementation of how IFRIS is being implemented. But I guess because we need to also take a step back. These same traders are paying VAT at importation. So if they know there is VAT at importation, and then now the URA is trying to collect that VAT when it's going to be sold again. So the expectation is you're already aware there is VAT, because no one, save for whatever is being said about, you know, the weighing in kilograms and all, which is a very much a customs duty issue. But in terms of VAT, the importers are aware that there is VAT on the items that they import. So now you take it a step further to then say, once you've imported, and then now you make a sale, because this is a tax that is charged on the value that you add on the supply, which is a good or service, then you're expected to charge VAT on that. Then from a domestic perspective, then that's where you're using the IFRIS system. Because when you import, you're importing and you're using a SCUDA, which is, you know, the system that you use to make entries and all. That's also a system. Then when you come domestically to charge the same VAT, then you're going to charge that VAT using IFRIS. So I think the traders know that, but it's more of a question of how it's being implemented.
But do you think your relationship with Uganda Revenue Authority continues to sour by the day, to the extent that you feel your grievances are best answered by the president?
Simon, I treasure so much and I respect so much Mr. Katesh, because when Mr. Katesh was still in Uganda Revenue Authority, he could engage us several times, and we share our pains together, and he could listen and act accordingly. But as per now, we've engaged so much with the CG now, and the acting and his assistant, Mr. Kagumire, but we have gotten a problem that whichever meeting we meet, he just gives us a painkiller. That, okay, let's give us time, but he will never change his mind. Whatever he comes with, he sticks on it, and it has to be implemented. That's the problem. Now, when we come to IFRIS, as you are saying, IFRIS, for us, we found it as something like double taxation. How? I've imported my goods, and I've paid the VAT as he has said. It comes to my shop. Then you are following your VAT, which at the entry point I paid. We've found it as a problem that, let's, for example, we may need this VAT at least to be collected in the factories that manufacture things from our country here. Yet me, a trader, when I import, I paid. Now the manufacturers, when they pay their VAT and you follow their VAT here, I think it will be something good. In fact, His Excellency asked Mr. Rujochi that I'm seeing something fishy in this thing. Why don't you correct your VAT from the factory itself and you leave the trader to go alone, because they've paid VAT on each and everything they've bought from the factory. Mr. Rujochi told him that when I collect it from there, I find the tax base more wider when I come direct to the traders themselves. So traders found it a problem. Let me give you one example. Someone is losing money when he hasn't spent it anywhere, but he's just losing it in with the Uganda Revenue Authority. For example, let's take an example of an importer in sugar. He uses 1 billion shillings to go and import sugar from Kamuli Sugar Factory. It's just a simple analysis, and you see how we are going to lose money and how you see the economy falling exactly, but it's not falling because someone is extravagant, but someone has been chopped his money off. Because IFRIS, the way they are charging it now, they tell us one thing. We are charging your sales. If your sales make 150 millions, yeah, that means you are entitled to be put on VAT. Your sales, not on one particular thing, but your sales, even if you are selling a coat, plus a shirt, plus a tie, those are all your sales. No matter whether you are getting goods from here or where, but your sales. That's the threshold, 150 millions. Now let me go with that person who is importing sugar from Kamuli Sugar Factory, which is here. He uses 1 billion. He has borrowed 1 billion from the bank and he goes for sugar. That one sack cost 162,000 shillings.
From the factory?
From the factory. And he gets 6,173 bags. Okay? When he comes, because there are some issues like loading a sack of sugar to Chikubo, that's 2,000. Loading and offloading, those casual laborers take 1,000. And he gets a profit of 1,000 from each bag. That means he gets 6,173 bags. With a profit of 1,000, that makes it 6 million. 173,000. That's his profit.
From a billion?
Yeah. That's a profit. Now, that sugar has come to Chikuwa. Remember, he used 1 billion. Okay? Now, Mr. Revenue comes. Our partner in business comes. He wants VAT, which is 18% from his sales. You know what he's taking? 1 billion plus the other 6,000, so 6 million, that makes it 1 billion, 6 million, 173. Now, he's charging 18%. With 18%, he's charging 181 millions. If that sale was just, he made that sale in a year, or he traded one route, that means he's being charged 181 million. You get from a profit of 6 million. Is this man really existing? Does you see that the trend they've taken is somehow harsh, and you can't exist? So now, let this person at least resist. He gets money from other routes.
Well, Herbert, we need to take a break, but as we take a break, this ping pong between traders and Uganda Revenue Authority seems to be persisting forever. Do you think there can be middle ground?
No, first of all, I think there has to be a lot of sensitization, because my friend here from Kasita, you know, VAT is a tax that has got two sides. You have input and you have output.
Yes.
The example you have given of a sugar
deal.
Sugar you have bought at 1 billion. The VAT on that 1 billion, which that factory will have charged you, because it is registered, will be 180 million. Are we together?
Yes.
So a trader in Chikubo, whether you import or you go to a big manufacturer and you buy, they will charge you VAT. That becomes your input VAT. Now, when you go to sell that sugar, you have said you will compute, after adding those, you have charged VAT of 100 and what?
At 81.
81. So 181 minus 180 you paid, you will only pay 1 million. So the problem is, I think, the sensitization. Because you see, if you are in Chikubo, you are selling the sugar. And I have a supermarket here in Naguru. We all buy from Kamudi. The first thing to happen is that there should be a fair trading. So for me, if I'm going to sell with taxes, and you will sell without taxes, the ground is not level. So my thinking is that a lot of sensitization needs to be done, because this VAT, it is self-accounting. Wherever you buy, they will charge you. Those manufacturers, importation, they will charge you. But that VAT that you have paid is supposed to be offset from when you sell. And actually, if you are in Chikubo or you are in an arcade where you are billed water and electricity, you will find that you have paid VAT on those services. Also, that one needs to be offset of your trade. So I think it is an issue of implementation and also sensitization. Tactically, having a conversation to say, how do you approach this?
But there is a sense that dialogue has failed.
There is another important thing which we dealt with the law. There was something called withholding VAT, that the traders would go to those who are appointed as withholding agents, and immediately as you transact, they deduct 6%
Withholding tax.
withholding. I think that one we have told the minister that it was not grounded in law, and the regulations have to be revised because
Let's start on that very note, because there is a raft of taxes that were approved yesterday.
Yes.
We just want to look at what they mean to an already overtaxed, seemingly overtaxed economy. Should the country brace itself for tougher days ahead with the taxman now imposing new taxes? Good morning. Welcome back. It's still the Morning Breeze as we make sense of the taxes and the issues that are now surrounding business, doing business in the country. Well, yesterday, Parliament approved a raft of taxes, including Value Addition Tax Amendment Bill 2024, the Income Tax Amendment Bill, and several others. Perhaps Honorable Katesh would start us off on what was approved, what was stayed, what was rejected.
Well, first of all, the process has not ended because we approved just a few bills and we have deferred the others. But the major highlight is that as Parliament, first of all, it's important for people to know that it is not Parliament that generates the proposals. The proposals come from government, from the Ministry of Finance, and as Parliament, generally we are not satisfied with the process that goes into the proposals before they come to Parliament.
So you approve begrudgingly?
No. There are questions we are asked. You know, when you ask a question, depending on the pass mark you have set, someone might give 60% and you say, okay, promoted to the next class, but the ideal answer would have fetched 90. You see, developing taxes, as a country, the first thing we have to look at is to do an analysis. The GDP is growing, is expected to grow at 6%. We expect the ministry to come up with the numbers showing which sectors are growing or are anticipated to grow to contribute to the average of 6%. So you have manufacturing, agriculture, tourism, wholesale and retail, like these people in Chikubo, services, etc. So we must know as a country how are these sectors growing. Which one is growing, contributing more to the GDP, and which one is not contributing much. Once we have done that, we need now to look on the revenue side. Which of the sectors and subsectors are contributing more revenue? So if you find, for example, the manufacturing is the one contributing more revenue, then the question would be, manufacturing becomes your cow that gives you more milk. How do you feed it to generate more what? Milk. If you find that wholesale, Chikubo here, is growing, okay, it has a huge GDP growth, but its revenue contribution is very little. Then you go in and go into the subsector sectors and analyze and say, okay, what do we need to do to stimulate? What are the pains that are preventing this healthy sector? What are the pains that are preventing them? They are growing, but they are not generating what? Money. What can we do? So even as you propose taxation bills, their bills are not supposed to be only for raising revenue. They are proposals that should be even looking at being futuristic, to say, I am going to bring this proposal. It may not result into money now, but because it is going to help this sector to grow and employ more people, in the next 2-3 years, it will give me more revenue. That is the kind of process we expected. Unfortunately, some of the proposals we have dealt with have not lived to that expectations, and we have told the ministry that going forward we need to be more serious. Every proposal must be properly researched on and analyzed, and we need to see the impact on the economy. And we also need to look at which sectors we can inject in, because you have the budget on one side, we are going to appropriation. So where are we putting money? Are we putting money in sectors that can bring more growth and more revenue? You know? So we have to analyze both sides of the coin. Now, having said that, the new measures we have looked at and those which we have passed are not going to generate a lot of money to fund the budget.
There is value.
The VAT amendments, most of them are not, they are not going to result. The certificate of financial implication we got from the minister on VAT, I think the total expected revenue is around 74 billion. So it's not so much, and that speaks to the awareness inside the government that perhaps taxes are high and we do not need to increase taxes. So there is a little bit of walking the tightrope to say, if we increase, already VAT is at 18%, can you take it further? I don't think it is wise. The best thing would be to widen the net, adopt the new technologies and sensitize and get more and more people into the net.
Well, if I could engage Trevor here, with deep scrutiny, do you think these taxes mean anything to the ordinary taxpayer when you look at the new bills that were approved yesterday?
Yes, they do mean quite a lot, but what would have impacted every one of us would really be the excise duty amendment bill, especially on the fuel, which, you know, was suspended for the next reading. But in terms of the other, the VAT Act, not a lot, in terms of the common man, not a lot there affects, but we've seen, at least we have seen some changes whereby some of the agricultural implements are being left where they're, you know, the minister was saying the agricultural implements should be moved to the second schedule. So that was rejected. So that also helps from the, you know, common man's perspective, especially those engaged in agriculture, you know, things to do with hose, pesticides and things like that. So if that is left within that schedule, then at least that is encouraging and also speaks to what Honorable Katesh is saying, not just looking at revenue collection, but also boosting and helping the farmers or those engaged in agriculture. Then from an income tax perspective,
Right.
the issue around land was a good one as well, because that was rejected by based on yesterday's plenary session, which was a good thing. And the arguments that were advanced by the committee, you know, speak to exactly what we've always been saying. You're looking at land as a factor of production, then the difficulties in terms of collecting that tax, how are you going to do it, then the discrimination. And when you look at some of these things, for example, in particular, that that provision on the land, we've repeatedly seen government come up with amendments, particularly trying to tax assets. So the last time round, the minister withdrew the amendment, but then now we've seen it come through another format where they are now talking about, because the last time it was rejected or withdrawn by the minister, having been told, you know, if you want to tax assets, then you're going to tax everything, be it a business asset, be it a non-business asset. So this time around, when the proposals are brought, now the minister is very specific to then say, we are only looking at taxing business, non-business assets. So that was rejected, which, you know, is a very welcome.
If I could take you back, did you say the rejection of excise on fuel is a positive?
No. So on that one, because an honorable can tell you here, the bill, the debate went on, but then it was deferred.
Yeah.
So, but honorable can confirm.
Yes.
We passed the VAT, income tax, the tax procedures code act, and the stamp duty. The excise duty, I think, has the most amendments. And when it went into the debate, I think there was the feeling of the speaker was that we need to suspend the debate until further notice. And we first tried to build some consensus because there were issues around taxation of fuel, 100 shillings per litre for diesel and petrol. The one on kerosene, we outrightly rejected it because that will affect the common man. But for the 100 shillings and a few others on beers and spirits, I think we have to do some internal caucusing to agree. But generally, when we were debating, most of us have the considered opinion that government should lower the appetite in trying to tax capital and production. And that's why you will see some of the things we rejected or we passed. For example, if someone is bringing money, cheap money into the country, lending it to the people, why do you need to target that money? Even if he makes a little profit, you should actually be looking at the successful enterprises, the businesses that have utilized this capital to grow, and rather than you targeting to tax. So that is the debate we are having, to say we need things that will boost the economy.
Okay. If I get to a trader, do these new taxes that were passed yesterday increase the burden to an ordinary taxpayer, or where is the relief?
We do not think, at least for those which have been passed, they will not necessarily increase the burden. Because like Trevor has said, there are those ones which were related to just amending, removing things like hose, fertilizers, pesticides from the schedule where they are zero rated to exempt. You know, what it means is that someone who is selling those items will not be entitled to input tax, VAT, and automatically our thinking is that when that advantage is taken away, he will load it into the cost, and you'll find that the hose, maybe the prices have gone up. So generally, at least for those which we have passed, the one on land, we do not agree with the position of finance that you should be taxing land. Because if you say you tax land in the municipalities, someone who is in Nansana, in Kasangati is a municipality. And just a few kilometers, you are outside the municipality, so that if I sell my land when I'm in the municipality and I have a gain, you tax it. We thought that would discourage investment, and it is taxing production. So generally, the feel will be felt, I mean, when we consider the excise duty amendments, where we have alcohol, spirits, a little bit of things to do with money transfers,
mobile agents, and
mobile agents. Those are the things which are pending, and we will have good discussions, because even on things like alcohol, things like spirits, we have to be very careful. As a landlocked country, we cannot have a very heavy tax regime on things that can easily lead to them being smuggled into the country, and then we lose the revenue. So we will have a discussion.
What comes into your mind when Parliament is running through these discussions around taxes
To me,
without your input?
To me, I think there's something bad. They painted a bad picture on traders. That's the problem. Because when you are in touch with His Excellency, he says that however much we do exist, but he doesn't count on us. This is a one-on-one discussion, because I was once with him and I told him that you are promoting investment here with investors. But I think your local investors are the first people to be considered. For him, he says that the investors he thinks are capable and viable are those we bring in here. Why? Well, in fact, what his argument is that nakowa or kusaka. That's the way he says it. Nakowa kolachi or kusaka. I no longer want my money to go out at Nsake. I rather inject all my money here. That's why he brings in investors. Now, if me as a local investor who tries to get my money to start up my business and to employ some of his people, to make them employed, and you discourage me and you encourage the other people to come and get initiatives, free land, they don't pay import duty, they pay...
They are more incentivized than the locals.
Yeah. For us, we are not given any initiative. That means that there is that biasness. I don't know what we did to His Excellency so that we are not considered. I don't know. That's why today we want to go to Kororo and we get the last nail in business. Either he leaves us in business to exist, or he leaves everything to the investors to run the country. That's the problem.
Well, I must really thank you very much. Honorable Katesh, thank you for coming in to share your insights on tax. Thank you, Trevor, for joining us this morning. I'm hosting you for the first time. But thank you very much. It's great to see you with us this morning. And let's continue the conversation online. To our viewers out there, what is your take on how Parliament is digesting the new tax amendments? Share with us on all our social media platforms, and it will be good to hear your opinion. That's it. Have a lovely day and cheers.